Welcome to my video lecture series in Game Concept and Production. This is Professor Janus Raymond Tan from the College of Computing and Engineering. For this video lecture, we will cover the topics about the overview of games and design. Throughout this video, we will discuss about what is a game, the basic concept of a game, the elements common to games. Now, what is a game? Most fields of study have been around for thousands of years. Game design has been studied for not much more than 10. We do not have a vast body of work to draw upon compared those in most other arts and sciences. Today, the term video game encompasses a wide range of gameplay experiences, from side-scrolling platforms just like Super Mario Bros. To first-person shooters to so-called walking simulators just like PUBG and COD. Moreover, as developers continue to challenge conceptions of what games can and can't be, static definitions of games grow more and more inadequate. Still, a working definition of games can be useful for understanding how games are made and why they exist. Having quoted that a game is a play activity with rules that involves conflict, let us consider the Super Mario game as an example. In Super Mario game, there are rules to be followed. These rules force the player to follow, which in turn became the source of game challenges. Examples of rules are avoiding the enemies and the enemy attacks, avoiding hazards, shooting enemies, collecting coins, mushrooms, saving the princess, reaching the goal per level, and killing the main antagonist. It is evident that without these rules, the player will not feel enjoyment and excitement in playing the game. There are many other definitions of games. Many of those other definitions were proposed by people with more game design experiences. So, different game designers have their own definitions of games, and some of them will be presented in the later slides. Now, given an example of definition, according to different people of game design or game designers, let us consider the game of 3 to 15. In this game, we need 2 players, and the objective is to collect a set of exactly 3 numbers that add up to 15. Start by writing the numbers 1 through 9 on a sheet of paper. Choose a player to go first. That is the setup. For the progression of play, on your turn, choose a number that has not been chosen by either player. So which means there should not be duplicate numbers. You now control that number, cross it off the list of numbers, and write the number on your side of the paper to show that it is now yours. Resolution. So how the game will be ended. If either player collects a set of exactly 3 numbers that add up exactly 15, the game ends, and that player wins. If all 9 numbers are collected and neither player has won, the game is a draw. So go ahead and play this game, either against yourself or against another player. So do you recognize the game now? So the game is just like this one, okay? The numbers 1 through 9 can be arranged in a 3 by 3 grid known as a magic square, where every row, column, and diagonal adds up to exactly 15 without duplicate numbers per row and column. Now you may recognize it. It is a game of tic-tac-toe, or nuts, or crosses, or several other names depending on where you live. So different locations, different terms being used to describe this game. So is tic-tac-toe the same game as 3 to 15? Or are they different games? So the answer is, it depends on what you mean. Which is why it is important to define what a game is. So games defined. A game has ends and means. So these are some of the definitions came from different authors or game designers. So according to the first designer, according to David Parlett, a game has ends and means. So which means there should be an objective, an outcome, and a set of rules to get there. Another one, a game is an activity involving player decisions, seeking objectives within a limiting context, and the context that limits the game is the rules of the game. A game is a voluntary effort to overcome unnecessary obstacles. That is according to Bernard Suits. It is voluntary, it has goals and rules. A game is a form of art in which the participants, termed players, make decisions in order to manage resources through game tokens in the pursuit of a goal. This definition includes a number of concepts not seen in earlier definitions. Games are art, they involve decisions and resource management, and they have tokens. So these tokens are the objects within the game. There is also the familiar concept of goals. Next one, games are a system in which players engage in an artificial conflict defined by rules that results in a quantifiable outcome. So here, when we say quantifiable, it means there is the concept of winning and losing. Although different people have their own way to define what a game is, they all have things in common, and these are the rules, conflict, goals. So rules, which sets the do's and the don'ts of the game. Conflict, which defines the challenges or the game like hazards and the enemies. Goals, and which defines the objective of the player should meet in order to finish the game. So for the basic concept of the game, a computer game is a software program in which one or more players make decisions through the control of game objects and resources in pursuit of a goal. So there is a play. When we say play, there should be an interaction to elicit emotion. The game itself, which has the objects that provides rule-bound play. The frame, when we say the frame, that is the border of a game's context. Inside the border, inside the frame is the game itself, and outside the frame is the real life. Aesthetics, which the emotional responses during play. A computer game involves players. So think about audience. The game is not made for you, of course, but for them. In making games, don't just think about your story or aesthetics or graphics or interface, but consider the player. So that's why there are some games that are made with realistic graphics having bad stories, not encouraging players to play the game. So those are some of the games which are not successful. Playing a game is about making decisions. Example, what weapon to use, depending on the game, what resource to build, and it can be frustrating if decision does not matter. So playing a game is about control. For example, a player wants to impact an outcome. Uncontrolled sequences can still happen but should be sparing and make logical. A game needs a goal. Example, we need to defeat Ganondorf in the Legend of Zelda game. So those are some of that is an example of a goal of a game. So long games may have sub goals. So depending upon the game, they can provide or it can have sub goals for each level or map. To throughout the entire gameplay, throughout the entire game, there are sub goals for every map, so that it will be considered as a requirement to finish the entire game. So without game goals, a player develops his or her own toy or a game. Okay, so a bunch of cool features. Example in Call of Duty mobile game. So in Call of Duty mobile game, some players may find the 10 versus 10 feature and the private server is a cool feature, unlike other first-person shooting games. A lot of fancy graphics. Games need graphics just as hit movie needs special effects, but neither will save weak idea. So which means games must work without fancy graphics. Okay, suggestion, a game should be fun using only simple objects. That's why, if you will remember, there is what we call the Flappy Bird game. The Flappy Bird game, if you will see it, if you will try to play the game again, that is a trending game before, okay? It uses simple objects and graphics. But why does it trend? Because of a basic gameplay, which requires you to pass through the spaces between pipes. So that's the only goal of the game, to get more score as possible. So having those basic graphics and basic gameplay, it was still a trend before. It is an excitement for other people. So a series of puzzles, all games have them, but not gameplay in themselves. Puzzles are specific, game systems spawn more generic problems, and an intriguing story. So some of the games, of course, has puzzles, and that adds to the excitement and challenge to the entire game. So for the game examples, okay, so let us talk about the some of examples of games according to what the game designers wanted the players to feel and experience. So number one, we have fun, okay, the holy grail of games, okay, but an ill-defined term for purposes of game analysis. So common reasons of game designers in order to make games is to give fun experience to others. These types of games are commonly found in games for kids, especially for educational games to encourage kids to learn while having fun. So that is an example of a game. Another one, clearing. So when we say clearing, cleaning up a scattering of interactive elements. Many games allow the player to clean up a scattering of interactive elements. There's a simple pleasure players seem to get from hoovering their way across a room full of gold mine or gold coins, or revealing the blacked out sections of the maps in real-time strategy or RTS games, or even role-playing games. Example is yung killing the main antagonist of a map or level. Okay, that is clearing. So once you kill the main antagonist of a level or a map, you're just like clearing that particular level. Next is collection. The act of accumulating things referred to as consumerism. Examples, collecting coins in Super Mario Brothers, collecting magic cards, buying things in The Sims, collecting rings in the Sonic the Hedgehog game, just like in the picture shown. Okay? Creation. Bringing something to existence. Building something that feels like it belongs to you. So example is constructing and growing a city in SimCity game, just like in the picture. Creating and arranging fish tank in Elfish game. That is creation. So for discovery, space to explore and gain mastery over, sometimes conceptual space like the rules to a new game. So it's fun to range over a new, often blackened out map in a strategy game. So just like in Warcraft, if you are familiar with Warcraft, the idea is to explore the blackened out map to discover the enemy base. And that is to strategize and make decisions on how they will defeat the enemy. Okay, so that is discovery. Diversion. It is the pleasure derived from performing routine game systems activities, the mechanical act of manipulating the game. So for example, playing an R using Windows Solitaire. Okay, I don't know if you are still playing this one, but still, it can be installed on our Windows machine. Another one is expectation, waiting with excitement for some perceived reward or entertaining moment. Examples, the thrill of gambling, blindly waiting to see if you've won playing slots, or if you are familiar with this one, just like opening a treasure chest with rewards. In this example, a mobile game which is called Shank Meta. Okay, there are treasure chests that can be received. Then upon opening that gift or that chest, you will feel excitement whatever it will give you. Okay. So next is the experience, allowing the player to engage in a real-world activity that is beyond his practical means. Examples, killing a person with a pistol. So some gamers wanted to do that, wanted to experience that one. Example is flying a fighter plane in a flight simulator game. Okay? Driving crash up derby cars in a mud arena car game, just like in Twisted Metal, if you are familiar with that, in PS1 and PS2 games before. Getting to play against Tiger Woods in a golf match. So I have here a picture, an example of a game in PlayStation, which is Tiger Woods PGA Tour. Okay, you can play with using this character, which is Tiger Woods, just like playing on your own using this character. Next one is expression, self-discovery or exploration, identity expression. Examples, choosing a self-gratifying nickname, character name, or call sign in a game like Quake, EverQuest, or X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter. Choosing a character race group in an RPG that is identified with an archetype or demeanor. Deck construction in Magic the Gathering. And character customization in this game. What is this game? This is the Black Desert mobile game. This is almost new. This is just released this year. It was released this year lang only. The Black Desert mobile, which allows you to customize your character, name your own character. Okay, so that is one of example of a game with showing expression. Another one is fantasy. For example of a fantasy game is the game for Space Armada Galaxy Wars, which allows you to use a vehicle for imaginative or impossible activity. So that is an example of fantasy. Flying on the back of a red dragon, for example, that is also an example of fantasy. Battling the undead or piloting a spaceship. Fellowship, the social aspects of gaming. So this is very common to you nowadays. Example is working with squad mates in PUBG Mobile or PUBG using computers to form a plan and attempt to score a goal. That is fellowship. Because in PUBG Mobile, you can use the microphones, the headphones, for you to communicate with your fellow gamers. Goal completion, being given a clear goal and actually recognizing that it has been accomplished. Example is building a bridge in a bridge builder game. That is goal completion. Another one, investment, spending time on some game element and thus coming to value it. For example, is buying gems in Clash of Clans. You are investing. Media migration, players desire to interact with familiar and often well-liked fictional elements from other media. If you are familiar with this game, this is Star Wars AR game or the Star Wars Augmented Reality game, which allows you to use a lightsaber, okay, to play the game. So just like you are one of the Jedis of the Star Wars. Another one is narrative. The drama that unfolds over time creates tension, engages us. Example is the dramatic events that occur in The Last of Us 2 game in PS4. That is narrative, game drama. Another one, obstacle, encountering a challenge and overcoming it. Example is the SSX game in PlayStation, or I think there is a PC version of this, making a difficult jump for this game that is encountering an obstacle or a challenge. That is snowboarding. Snowboarding game to, snowboarding. Another game is sensation. Example is the Need for Speed Most Wanted, which brings hourly or visually pleasing aesthetics. If you are familiar with the introduction of this game, that is way back 2005, I think, released by EA Sports for PC, PlayStation, and PSP. So, Need for Speed Most Wanted brings aurally or visually pleasing aesthetics by giving realistic graphics, especially in that introduction video. That brings sensation. Next one, and the last one is Victory, which is putting the beat down on an opponent. Some people are driven to compete and gain pleasure from winning. Examples, players love being the top ranking player in Mobile Legends. Okay, so that is Victory. So for the summary, all games has rules, conflicts, and goals. There are many other definitions of game. Many of those other definitions were proposed by people with more game design experience. A computer game is a software program which involves players making decisions, control, need goals, and graphics and puzzles. So for this lessons activity, research one computer, console, or mobile game and identify some of its rules, conflicts, and goals. So you can use this format to organize your answer. So table format, you need to identify the game title, a column for rules, a column for conflicts, and a column for goals. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed this video. For inquiries, feel free to post your questions in our group chat. In our next video, we will discuss all about game design. Don't forget to visit the links in the references section for more information about this lesson. See you in the next video.